Hello, Yakri here with another Warframe video, and this time I want to talk about what makes Mirage so great. So, she's one of the better Warframes in the game, although she's a little bit underused and perhaps underrated in my opinion. Mirage has very large damage amp capabilities, as well as solid CC in her ult, and Sleight of Hand doesn't really add much to her kit, but we're ignoring that and her ultimate for the most part here. What really makes her fantastic is Eclipse and Hall of Mirrors. In particular, that they let her do a humongous amount of damage. Now, right off the bat, let's get out of the way that Eclipse is bugged in the Simulacrum, and you will get far less of a damage bonus than you ought to in the Simulacrum when using Eclipse. So, keep that in mind. I'm not going to be able to deal anything near her normal amount of damage here, but what I'm actually going to focus on is Hall of Mirrors. I really think that this is the standout ability that makes her extremely useful. Mostly because, of course, Warframe is a horde shooter, and how Hall of Mirrors works is that your two of your additional illusions will fire at the enemies, right? So you get actually, 3 real projectiles that will deal damage. It's reduced damage, of course, but the illusion projectiles can proc. So the nice thing about this is that versus a lower level enemies, or with your damage amp and perhaps Hall of Malevolence, the mod that increases the damage of your illusions as you gain kills, you can deal pretty solid damage with your extra copies. This damage is multiplicative with your bonus from Eclipse, because of course the copies are dealing extra instances of damage based on your own total damage with the weapon you're firing. And because the copies will proc as well, the utility of this ability is extremely high, right? With explosive weapons, or even with non-explosive weapons, like let's see, I've got Twin Gricadas here. Let's respawn all of our enemies really quickly. So with really any type of weapon, when you're firing into a horde of enemies, you're really going to increase your coverage of the horde of enemies, right? This is extremely useful for fairly obvious reasons. Warframe is a horde shooter, and you're going to need to kill large groups of enemies very frequently during normal gameplay. They might not necessarily be very tough, large groups of enemies, which means that oftentimes being able to spread out your damage is more useful than being able to concentrate it. So the deal here is that since Hall of Mirrors, let's take a look at her, let's bring her abilities back up here. So Hall of Mirrors is going to give you 2 separate, firing instances whenever you fire. And so explosive weapons, any type of weapon, will be spread out more and you'll get more procs, right? It's kind of like multi-shot. And procs can be extremely useful in Warframe, especially if you're fighting really high-level enemies and you don't have enough corrosive projection or someone else who can strip armor. This means you're going to be much more capable of stripping armor. I was using the Ogress with radiation damage. Being able to spread radiation procs with an explosive weapon over a wide area is extremely useful and a great form of CC. And so the utility of this ability is really enormous, and I think it really puts her a step above a lot of other Warframes that can enhance weapon damage, even Warframes that can enhance weapon damage farther than Mirage herself can, because she doesn't just enhance weapon damage, but she enhances the utility of the weapons you're using, which isn't true for a lot of other Warframes. So I think this is what lets her really stand out, and what makes her one of the better frames in the game, if you like that kind of weapon damage enhancement style of play, right? She's also good for other things. She's a fantastic CC frame with her ultimate, still, even after the nerfs to it. But I think this is the really standout thing that she has that other Warframes do not, which is that extra ability, or damage, right? Now, just to show off what I've got, these are my builds for the various weapons. I was using the Ogress with this Riven. The Ogress, even with a decent Riven, is not, I don't know if this is really amazing. You could certainly get a better one. It's not that fantastic, but it's at least a little bit usable. But, you could do the same thing with the Opticore, or the Lens, for example, is actually fantastic because it covers just this enormous area and slows down all enemies before exploding. Twin Gricadas, of course, I've showed this off in some of my other videos. This is the build I have for them, and the build for Mirage is not even finished. So she's, in terms of actual damage numbers, you should be able to get things much higher with her, or just bring back some efficiency in there. I don't know if I would actually use much more power strength on her than I've gotten this build, but you can certainly, of course, add in prime flow or some duration to the build, or both actually with enough forma. So anyway, that I think pretty much covers this. I think she's really good because of Hall of Mirrors, and her other abilities just accentuate that particular unique quality of the frame. All right, Yakri out.